During your stay at the Quis, you will run into some nasty little critters in the lakes called poisson-chat. These are tiny little catfish which range from a few inches long up to probably sort of nearly a foot, some of the biggest ones. But they are boilie munching machines, and I can assure you even the hardest of bait will last no time on the bottom at all. So one way to combat that, we found, is to mesh your hook baits so that they can't get a purchase on the bait to nibble it away. And it means that you can cast out of an evening and know that you'll still have hook bait on in the morning, which I can assure you, if you use just a normal boilie, you won't have any bait on your hair in the morning. So to do this, you'll need various items. One is a little piece of mesh, which you can buy in most of the good fishing tackle shops, but it is only a piece of mesh, bit of nylon curtaining or anything, but you need some mesh. Obviously your boilie, you'll need some line and a cigarette lighter. I'll now go through the process of how to mesh a bait. So first of all, take your piece of mesh and insert your boilie right into the middle of it. Then carefully fold the mesh round the boilie and twist it tightly a couple of times. So you now have your boilie tightly wrapped by the mesh. Then take your piece of line, and in this instance I've pre-tied a couple of overhand knots into it. As you can see, I've got a loop there ready to tighten. That is then inserted over the boilie and carefully pulled tight. So now I have the boilie sealed with the line. I need to carefully just trim off a bit of the excess line so I can see what I'm doing. I now need to carefully trim back the mesh Now obviously that could come unravelled and it doesn't actually look very nice. So what I'm going to do is to finish it off so that it can't come untangled. I'm going to very carefully melt this area with a lighter. Now obviously you have to be very careful when you're doing this. It's because you don't want to burn the mesh on the boilie. You just want to melt this blobby bit on the end. So pay careful attention to the wind, etc. Do it in your bivvy, whatever you have to do. But be careful. So I just carefully trying to allow for the wind, which I'm doing outdoors here today. Now what I'm going to do is quickly lick my finger, put it on the end and dab and twist. So now what I've ended up with is a completely sealed piece of mesh. The line's sealed with it, the mesh is sealed, the boilie's sealed in the mesh, and you can now thread your hook the hair line through it and you have a perfectly meshed boilie.